Heads up, this episode contains adult themes, spoilers, and in some spots, kind of murky audio quality. If you're not quite making out every word, you can check out our subtitled video version on YouTube.
The first scene, in the book is she's crawling through the grass observing her family. She's got a knife in her hand. She's watching her baby and, her husband, as if she was a stranger, like she's just stalking through the grass, watching her life. That's a pretty bold opening. You're like, what the hell's going to happen now? It's like she's watching what her life's become from the outside, like a stalker almost, And so it was pretty bold right away.
That is filmmaker Lynne Ramsay. And pretty bold is one way to describe her new film, Die My Love. You might also call it fearless, frightening, and darkly funny. It's based on the novel by Ariana Harvich, and it's about a young couple, Grace and Jackson, who move to a fixer-upper house in rural Montana. Their life is full of creativity and sex and endless possibilities, until they have a baby. And Grace's life, and then Grace herself, start to come apart at the seams.
Cheryl mentioned that you're a writer.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore.
Why not? Stuck for inspiration?
I'm stuck between wanting to do something and not wanting to do anything at all.
I'm Simran Hans, stepping in for Rico Galliano. Welcome back to the MUBI Podcast. MUBI is the global film company that champions great cinema, and on this show, we tell you the stories behind great cinema. Rico's back next week with a new season for you to feast on, but here's one of our special episodes. It's my conversation with writer-director Lynne Ramsay about Die My Love. Part domestic drama, part haunted house thriller, it features Jennifer Lawrence in a go-for-broke performance as Grace that helped it earn a 9-minute standing ovation at this year's Cannes Film Festival. And it's in cinemas now, in the US, UK, and lots of other countries. Lynne is the visionary Scottish filmmaker behind Ratcatcher, Morven Caller, We Need to Talk About Kevin, and You Were Never Really Here. We'll hear why she thinks the couple in this psychodrama are like a modern-day version of screwball legends Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy, and why she sent Jennifer Lawrence and her co-star Robert Pattinson to dance classes. First though, I asked Lynne about Grace's physicality in the film. At various points, we see Jennifer Lawrence lick a dirty window, strip to her underwear at a kid's birthday party, and she spends a lot of time prowling around, like some kind of animal.
It was quite inspired by the original material, which is the book by Ariana Harvich. The character in it is very feral, irreverent, unapologetic, animalistic. Within her Psychosis, I hadn't seen a character like that who's almost kind of liberating, in some respects. So, yeah, it's a quite physical performance.
You used the word feral there, and I think we could go even further and say cat-like, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. That kind of came around in a way because when they move into the house, there's rodents there, and it's just a tiny little blink of your miss it moment, but she kind of hears things. And then her husband, the character Jackson, brings home a dog when she says we need a cat, and so it's kind of funny, it's absurd, but she's bored in this house, she can't write, she's isolated, and, that's sort of developed over time while we were making it.
And obviously, you alluded to it there, but she spends a lot of time in this film on all fours in various scenarios.
It sounds bad. But yeah, she did. No, it's a wildness in Grace, and it felt like she's a beast of sorts. The wildness of that character, within quite a surrealistic novel, which I used as a jumping off point rather than a literal translation, felt, like I say, quite liberating for a character like this. She's very inappropriate sometimes, but she sort of has a truth of some sort, and childlike as well.
Childlike, I think, is a good word, and free as well. She's very free in how she moves. I wonder if you did use any particular kind of animal metaphors when you were describing to her how you wanted her to sort of stalk through the grass or be in this sort of prowling mode.
I mean, she said something like, I'm a cat, he's a dog, things were coming up during prep and also as part of your character in the first place, there was, like you say, that kind of freedom. But I didn't give her any particular direction in that, because like she was great at doing that herself, you know. She's very trusting in me, and we'd spoke a lot in prep and talked about that kind of the animalistic nature of this character, you know, that she's kind of untamed.
I think that's a great word. Let's talk a little bit about the relationship between Grace and Jackson. They're a couple who are always sparring, verbally, sexually, sometimes physically. Tell me about the inspiration behind that dynamic.
Well, you know, I always saw them as a couple that really loved each other, but they're just totally at odds with each other, especially now they've moved into this new environment. And I think he's a bit hapless at times, but he doesn't really know what to do with her, but he totally loves her. And the things he probably loved about her in the first place, like their sexiness and their natural kind of nature and their sexuality, were all present there. And now they become a bit more threatening, you know, as she starts to unravel. But also they were hilarious, some of the arguments and stuff between them, you know, like it felt like Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn having one of these big rows, but it's funny and you recognise it, or, you know, like in all these kind of things between married couples that seem absurd, you know. So the humour was a big deal for me as well.
100%. And there's a perverse enjoyment in kind of seeing them just go at each other, particularly in the scene where the house is a mess and the dog is barking and Jackson's shouting at Grace because she's not wearing any pants.
Basically, Grace is kind of bored and letting everything go. And Jackson's just like infuriated by her, you know.
This place is a fucking hole.
And you moved us into it.
I am working. And when I come home, I'm the one cleaning everything up.
Oh, yeah, 3 days a week. Let me shower you in medals.
Shut up.
You have an ashtray on the carpet. You don't think the baby's eating that shit?
Shut up.
Move us into the house where your uncle shot himself up the fucking ass.
Oh, my God.
Up the ass. Up the fucking ass.
I knew it! Why are your shorts on? Why do you not have your shorts on?
Shut up! Fucking sanctimonious dick.
You probably pissed on the floor yourself. Blame it on the fucking dog.
Who's your mangy dog? And sanctimonious means that you think you're morally superior to other people, Demi.
He's brought this dog back when she really wants a cat because there's mice and rats and stuff like that. They're living in a rural place. And the dog is the most annoying dog in the world, you know, like and it kind of was actually the dog we chose. And he's sort of trying to do a kind of good thing, you know, but it's just like the whole thing's kind of imploding somewhat. So he sort of takes her to task for letting everything kind of, the house kind of deteriorate. And she takes him to task for bringing this dog home, you know, like, and this whole thing blows up in this mad way.
Where's your book going, by the way?
Fantastic, thank you.
Your great American novel.
The main character is about to batter her husband to death with a hammer.
Sounds like shit.
Well, you can't read, so.
It's a kind of like hilarious argument about two people stuck in this situation, you know, and it's absurd. But there's moments where when we were playing it where they just naturally started laughing, or, you know, like, and I remember one scene when he drags her into the car after the scene in the kitchen, they just started laughing because, you know, he was trying to get her in there, get her seatbelt on it, and Jennifer and Rob stopped and they were like, "Oh, we're really sorry, Lynne." And I was like, no, there's something really alive in that, because it was just these moments in an argument where you have about each other sometimes where you're just like, this is funny, you know, and they realise it's funny and it's stupid and it's absurd, you know, so it's kind of that, you know.
Maybe if I spend a little less time in my pants, a little more time writing, maybe I'd write something. Maybe.
My hands are down my pants because you put your dick everywhere except there, asshole.
And she's always masturbating as well, which, you know, like she wants sex the whole time, you know. The more that she's unraveling, I think the more he's backing off from her, you know.
Why did you ask Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson to take dance lessons together before shooting?
Well, I had an inkling I might use some stuff. I might try something with them.
Like a choreographed dance?
Yeah, like I was like, you know, I put them in such an embarrassing situation, I guess, like with dance expression or something, you know, these classes and stuff like. And we didn't have a long prep. It was like only 4.5 weeks, and you know, normally like a longer prep for a film like this, and I hadn't done any soft prep or anything like that. But they were good. They came early, you know, and I just wanted everything that would break the ice and get them in sync with each other, you know, like, so we did some goofy things, But it worked, because the embarrassment kind of went.
And when you say expressive dance lessons, can you give me any description of what that was like?
I think they had to be like the wind was coming and, or it was raining and like express themselves, and, like a kind of, like, I don't know, like within dance, like, and then they did some more synchronized dances together as well, You'd need to ask her though, because I just left them with, with the teacher, and that's it, broke the ice, yeah. And also the intimate scenes, I filmed them in the first day, but in chronological order, so that you kind of felt like the evolutionary of a relationship in one scene, and there's some tenderness as well. There's a beautiful scene where, it's just a shot, but it's a little scene where he's painting her toenails post-coital, and it's got a real beauty to it. That was great because it broke all the ice, because sometimes when you leave those scenes later, they kind of build to something. But I knew there was a lot of chemistry between them at first, and I think doing certain things and going through the script and talking a lot to each other, and just all the trust that was there meant we were up and running pretty quickly, and they felt like a really authentic couple. So that was a real win for me, because like sometimes you don't know until people get together. Like there was a chemistry that made me see them as a couple rather than just the actor.
Part of this film is about how a woman's life and also her sense of self starts to change after becoming a parent. Grace is a writer who hasn't written since having a baby. I wonder how, obviously, you've got a daughter yourself. I wonder how becoming a parent changed your relationship to yourself, and in particular yourself as an artist.
Well, you don't get much time to sleep at first, Sleep deprivation is like definitely a thing. And you get someone else to consider. Sometimes with creativity, it just gets like, really, you hit a wall, and I'll start to hoover and clean dishes and, like do anything but do, what I should be doing, like I think, you have to be more structured. That definitely throws the spanner into the works. And so you have to use your time much more productively, let's say,
Yeah. And obviously her sense of self is beyond just herself as a writer. It's her whole identity, who she is in her relationship as well.
One thing that Jennifer said that I thought was interesting as well is like that she's kind of becomes a bit invisible to him. So she's sort of trying to make herself visible, like to someone, and that's, and she feels like a kind of caged animal within that house, and she's hitting a wall with everything. I mean, you don't see that aspect to it until the end, but she keeps mentioning she can't work. So she's hit this kind of wall creatively, within her relationship, sexually, within her marriage, and as a mother.
You've described Grace before as an anarchist, someone who's smashing up the world around her. What aspects of Grace do you see as punk or punk rock?
Well, I suppose that was in my narrative. My narrative was like, like in a way that I thought she's not apologising for herself. She's not trying to elicit sympathy. It's like within her mind, she's totally honest and truthful about no one really, she doesn't see herself. Pam does, the mother-in-law. And I think that in order to make herself visible to him and visible to the world, like she literally goes, there's a kind of liberation of sorts in it, she literally does kind of set the world on fire,
How did you approach going beyond this sort of cinematic trope or the stereotype of presenting a sort of woman on the verge? Because I think you do something really interesting with how you present the psychosis. It's not something that can be easily pathologized, and it's hard to depict that in an authentic way. So how are you thinking about not playing into those stereotypes and kind of, doing something different?
I think it was like, for her, she's normal, she's fine. She doesn't see herself from the outside, and she can be really inappropriate with people and say things that we all want to say, but you wouldn't have, it takes people aback, but there's a sort of truth in it. But in my mind is also like, I think she's, because of her creativity and because of like everything being stymied now, it's like a pressure cooker about to explode.
Can you talk a little bit about why you wanted so much of the movie to play out at night or in those kind of early hours of the morning?
It's a dreamlike quality, and you're not quite, one of the things in the novel as well, or in the original material was like, you're not quite sure what's real or not, and I think that we played it day for night, which is an old technique, where you're shooting during the day, but you basically make it darker. You're looking for a certain type of light and stuff where it makes it feel very otherworldly, and I think that sort of suited her mindset. So we did a lot of tests on that. And it had a sort of beauty to it, you know, and a quality that felt like you weren't quite on Earth.
The story goes that Jennifer Lawrence and her producing partner wanted you to make this film because they had got hold of the book and they said that it felt like a Lynne Ramsay movie to them. What do you think they meant by that?
I've got no idea, to be honest. I didn't even know the story about the Martin Scorsese's book club. That's where it came from. And then, I mean, I literally got an email saying we'd love you to do this. And I took my time about it because I still had to find my way into what it was and make sure I wasn't, you know, exploring the same territory I had in other films, you know. So I saw it in my own way, you know. But yeah, I think you'd need to ask them that. I don't know.
Lynne Ramsay. Die My Love is in cinemas now. For tickets and showtimes, head to MUBI.com/diemylove. To check out more of Lynne's work, her 2011 film We Need to Talk About Kevin, starring Tilda Swinton, is playing on MUBI in the US, Canada, Ireland, the UK, and many more countries. Check the show notes for how to watch. Meanwhile, follow us for more episodes about great films and great filmmakers. Next week, your regular host Rico is back with a brand new season. Just in time for holiday feasts, it's all about food on film. And episode 1 is the story of an unlikely classic, cooked up by an unlikely director.
The last thing I wanted to do was a project that had taken 5 years that Pixar couldn't crack, based on 3 things that I know nothing about, you know, rats and cooking and France.
Brad Bird on Ratatouille. Follow us so you don't miss it. And if you've got questions, comments, or you teach expressive dance, our email is podcast@mubi.com. And now, let's roll credits. This episode was written and hosted by me, Simran Hans. Our editor is Christian Coons. Kira McAniff is our producer, with help from assistant producer Kat Kowalczyk. Our theme music is by Yuri Suzuki. Special thanks to Louis Nash, who recorded me. This show is executive produced by F.A. Ceccarel, Rico Galliano, Michael Tucker, and Daniel Kazman. And finally, to watch the best in cinema, subscribe to MUBI at MUBI.com. Thanks for listening, and get some sleep.